This week is Parshas Naso, which is the longest parsha of the year in Psukim. In fact, it is the longest parsha, but it's also not the longest parsha, in that the latter half of Naso is all the karbanos of all the Nesiim by the Chanukas HaMishkan. For a Bar Mitzvah kid, Parshas Naso, therefore, is nowhere near as daunting as it appears, since the Psukim are repeated over and over and over again. There is a belt of Torah on why that is so, but from my vantage point, I just want to drive home the message that this is confirming that's what I've always said, and you've heard me say before, the ikra of learning is chazara. By being chazara over and over again, that is the way to real success. Happens to be that each and every one of the Nesiim had his own kavanas brought down in all the Mefarshim, so it's not just repetitious. However, Rabbi Yosef Chaim Sonnenfeld his son wrote a beautiful sefer on Chumash, or Rabbi Yosef Chaim Sonnenfeld on the Parsha. His son's name is Rav Shlomo Zalman Sonnenfeld, and he asks an interesting question at the beginning of the Parsha. By the way, I introduced this as the longest Parsha because this is going to be my longest of our Torah. I got 4 different Divrei Torah here. Number 1, it says, Ish Ishki sister Ishtai, and it's the famous Parsha of Saito, which is at the beginning of Parshas Naso, or near the beginning. So Rav Yosef Engel, who's a gigantic Goyin Olam, put out a sefer, or wrote a sefer called Gevurei Shmoinim, in which he listed 80 possible answers, or 80 Svardik answers, particular kasha on Masechta Saita, and the grandson asked his grandfather, Yosef Chaim, why did he specifically pick 80? Could have picked any other number. Why specifically 80? So Rav Yosef Chaim said, you tell me, what do you think? It might be because the gematria of Saita is 80. Do it. Samach Vav Tes Tei. Yosef Chaim was delighted with the answer and said, yes, that is certainly the reason. I'm only surprised he did not mention it in his sefer. Having said that, I saw a fascinating story about Rav Yosef Chaim Sonnenfeld this past week, which I'd like to share with you. One morning, his son entered his father's room and noticed his face was shining. He was puzzled. He asked his father what had happened. Rav Yosef Chaim said, no, it's nothing, it's nothing. He said, no, tell me. He said, no, it's nothing. He kept putting him off. Finally, he said, I'll tell you only on the condition that no one is to hear about this until after I pass away. What was happening? For several weeks, I've been grappling with an apparently insoluble problem in a sefer called Sifra Hisniusa, which is a very, very esoteric sefer on the Kabbalah, and the Vilna Gaon's commentary on it. Last night, the Gaon came to me in a dream and explained the difficult passage to me. When I awoke this morning, I realized that the matter had indeed become perfectly clear. So I thought that was a rather astounding little vignette there about Rabbi Yosef Chaim Sonnenfeld and the Vilna Gaon. This week's Parsha's highlight, in my opinion, other than the scene bringing the karbanos, is the Birchas Kohanim. Yivrachecha Hashem v'yishmerecha, Yashem panav elecha v'yichuneka, Yisah Hashem panav elecha, Yasem lecha shalom. The Sefer Simchas HaTorah, which was put out on the Divrei Torah by Rav Simcha Sheps, who was Rosh Yeshiva in Torah V'das, a wonderful man whom I got to know a little bit and took care of her for a short while. Was a Goyin Olam, was a Magid Shir, was a real big Talmid Chacham. Brings down a Medrash Tanchuma on the Birchas Kohanim, which says, Yivarechecha, which means what? Means Oisher, means well. Yishmerecha, that you should do mitzvahs. Yosem lecha shalom, should give you shalom. So the kasha is, he's giving to you a gashmias before he's giving you ruchnias. You would think that ruchnias is the more important thing in life. So how come the Torah started off with Yivrachecha, with money, and only have to have Yishmerecha to do mitzvahs? And then at the end, he says, Yosem lecha shalom. Shalom, of course, is the most important aspect here. Everything needs to have shalom. So that should have been first. If there's no shalom, there's no nothing, which is a Befer Rashi in Parshas Bechukosai, which we just linked quite recently. In order to understand this bracha, he says, in order to get a bracha, you have to understand that the bracha of Gashmias does not mean a lot of money and a lot of nechasim. That's not true at all. What is the bracha of Gashmias? The bracha of Gashmias is to be satisfied. There is a famous saying that who's Ezehu Asher Hasamech B'Chelko. The person just rich and is not satisfied with what he has, as soon as he sees his friend has something more than him, he's absolutely devastated. He's got that and I don't have that? That's impossible. The purpose of richness is to be satisfied. You should not feel that you have enough to satisfy your needs. You don't need more than what you have. That is the bracha of Ashirus. The person understands that as the bracha, doesn't have a desire for anything more, then he is certainly rich. A rich man once came to a very big gadol, and he said to him, he gave him a bracha. He said, "What's your bracha?" He says, "You should always think that you have a lot of money and you don't have enough Yiras Shamayim." What does that mean? A person should think that I have so much, I have more than what I need. But Yiras Shamayim, I don't have enough. I need more Yiras Shamayim. You should have a taiva that more and more Yiras Shamayim. And that is a tremendous yesod in life. We should never be satisfied with what we have. Therefore, now we understand Birchos Kohanim on this one particular point. Hashem should give you a bracha with mammon, that you should have enough what you need and should not need more. And once you have that bracha of his stapkos, which means satisfaction, then you'll have menucha shlema. You'll have the ability to have a calm mind. You'll be samech bechelko, and after that, you can do the bracha of yishmerecha. Then, when you have this calmness of mind and satisfaction, you'll be able to do more and more mitzvahs, because you'll have the ability to focus on doing what's important in life, that is to do mitzvahs. And after that, once you have those two aspects, then certainly you'll have shalom. Because once you have this mech b'chelko and you have all your mitzvahs, there cannot be possibly anything more shalom than that. And you'll have birchas Hashem, that you'll have oisher in both ruchnius and gashmius. My final part for this particular segment is a tremendously interesting question which came up in a sefer which I got. It's called Sefer Otzer Plois HaTorah. This is what it looks like. I got this from a very chashuv friend of mine, Ramendi Pollock, who should live and be well, a wonderful, wonderful fellow. I've seen some wonderful things in this sefer. By the way, this sefer was written by a balabos who turned out was a tremendous guy. The man knew everything in Shas and Pesach. Now, here's his question. Let's say a Ben Eretz Yisrael is in Chutz La'aretz for Yontif. Could either be the second day of Shavuos or Achron Shel Pesach, and he happens to be a Kohen. And this question was asked of a Rav called Rav Aaron Mordechai Brisk, and he asked him, and it's brought down in Shas and Shuvas called Maharam Brisk. I can show off my ignorance to say I've never heard of it before, which most of the Sfarim in this sefer I never heard of before, which is great. What is the halacha of a person who comes from Eretz Yisrael, goes to Chutz La'aretz, and he has kavanah to go back home? So he doesn't keep Yontif Sheni Shel Galius. Is he allowed to duchen if he's a kohen on Yontif Sheni of Galius with the other people, or duchening on Yontif Sheni of Galius? The kohen told him. He said to him, "La'ani is daiti," which is always a very good thing to say. To my humble opinion, it's a pashat gezach that a Ben Eretz Yisrael, when he's in Chutz La'aretz, he definitely can duchen on the second day. Why? Why don't we duchen every single day in Chutz La'aretz? Because we're busy with our parnasa. We're busy. We can't be involved. We should be more involved, but we can't be fully involved with those things which really give us true simcha, which is what I just said to you. Is mitzvah s'maisim tovim. Only on a day like Yontif, when we don't have that daiga of parnasa. So therefore, if a Ben Eretz Yisrael who's in Chutz La'aretz, he can't do malach on Yontif b'far hesya, because that you cannot do, because that's the minig of the makom, and he's not worried about his parnasa on Yontif Sheni Shel Galius. And he is shori b'simcha. He certainly would be entitled and is eligible to do Birchas Kohanim, but it's not just a simple kasha. Can he do it? He can say it with a bracha. There's no chash of a bracha levatala. I thought that was a genius shas and shuva, and I wanted to share that with you. And have a wonderful Shabbos. Good Shabbos.